The extreme range test on 4 of the most popular e-bike motors on the market in 2022. There are definitely loads of things to look for when you're buying that new e-bike, but for me, the most important thing by far is range. And this is a follow-up video of last week's epic hill climb video, which is definitely worth a look. We have the Bosch Gen 4 with a 750 watt battery, then the Brose Mag S with a 700 watt battery, then the giant Syncdrive Pro, which is based on a Yamaha PW-X3 with a 625 watt battery, and then the Shimano EP8 with a 630 watt battery. So the extreme range test is we're putting all motors in the absolute highest assistant modes, so most power you can possibly get from each system. Then we're quite simply going to my local downhill track, going up a fire trail and then down one of my favorite downhills, and we're repeating that loop as many times as possible, because really we want to see how many vertical meters of climbing we can get from each system. And riders, this has been a huge amount of work. I have these bikes for a short amount of time and there's so many variables. The first massive variable is battery size. We've got a 625, we've got a 630, we've got a 700, a 750. So in the conclusion, we're going to scale up those results to a 750 battery, which seems to be standard in 2022, and give you an idea of what system would get if the bikes all had a 750 watt battery. And also the other major variables are wheel size. We've got 27.5 in the Commensal, mullet in the Levo, 29er in the Crafty, and a 29er in the Trance. And also the Trance is rocking automatic suspension, and it's more of a trail bike, and we've got different tires across all the bikes. So there's so many variables. If you did the same test with a different rider, different bikes, different tires, you're gonna get a different result. But what I wanted to do is give you the more or less of what the range you're gonna get from these different motors. And also riders, this is an extreme range test. Of course, you're gonna get more range if you put the bikes into eco or trail, or put in more effort yourself. And let's thank the sponsors, Insta360, making the smallest action camera on the market, and Schwalbe, in my opinion, making the best e-bike tires on the market. And at the end of this video, we're going to give a pair of Schwalbe tires away, so make sure you keep on watching. And if you're confused on which e-bike to buy in 2022, you should be. The market has absolutely exploded, but don't worry, we have you covered. At samsbikes.net, the first, the best bike finder on the internet, you can go over there, you can search for your favorite e-bike, you can also compare all of them together, you can see what suspension they have, what weight they are, what they cost, what motors, what batteries, and now in this video you can see more or less what range you're going to get, so definitely worth checking that out. And if you're new to Sam's Bikes, we only talk e-bikes and we do weekly e-bike content, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and share it with like-minded people. And now on to the epic extreme range test on the Bosch Gen 4 with the 750 watt battery on the Mondraker Crafty XR. Let's go see how far we can get. So we just got to the top of the first downhill and we used exactly 20%. I'm quite surprised, you know, the Bosch Gen 4 seems a bit thirstier than I thought it would be with the 750 watt battery. So we did 15 minutes of uphill riding. My average heart rate was around 130 or 126, and we went up in elevation 281 meters. So that is 20%. And there we go, 60% on the battery, 45 minutes of riding, around 12 Ks, but 600 meters of vertical climbing. So we hit 40% left of the battery, so we used 60% of the 750 watt battery in the Gen 4. We have done 900 meters of vertical climbing, around 1 hour and 20 minutes in the saddle, 19 kilometers. So this is an interesting point. At 30%, says it gives you a warning that you're coming into 30%. Seems a little bit early to me. Okay, and we finally hit 20%, so we've used 80% of the battery. We have been in the saddle 1 hour and 45 minutes, all in turbo. We've done 1,115 meters of vertical climbing. Okay, so we just hit 5%, and definitely we've got less power, but we've still got quite a lot of power. Okay, so now we're on the last 3% of the battery, and I've definitely noticed less power. It's more like trail, or maybe even a little bit less than trail. 0%, and it's still going. You go, Bosch, you go. There it goes, and it finishes. And it's Groundhog Day again, back at my local, doing the extreme range test on the Levo Gen 3 with the Brose 90 Newton meter motor, 700 watt battery. Let's go. So 20% done, 5Ks, 20 minutes in the saddle, and 305 meters of vertical climbing. And my average heart rate, I reckon, was around 125 to 135. Higher on the downhills because I'm back on the Levo and the bike excites me. Okay, so that marks 40% usage, 60% to go. We've done 41 minutes in the saddle, and I should have put double bike pants on today. My ass is a little bit sore. We've done 585 meters of climbing, vertical climbing, and around 11 Ks. As I said, straight uphill, straight downhill. Let's keep on cracking. Okay, so 60% use of the battery, so 40% left. We've done 1 hour and 5 minutes in the saddle, 17.5 kilometers, 840 meters of vertical climbing. Okay, so we used 80% of the battery, so 20% left, hour and a half in the saddle, 23 Ks and 1,090 meters of vertical climbing. So now we just got the 9% battery left, and I noticed definitely from 10 to 9 a decrease in power. We're still at 4%, and you can see it's pretty steep now, and we're definitely getting a very small amount of assistance from the battery, from the motor, and that's it. There's nothing left. At 3%, the Levo is gone. Day 3 Groundhog, weather's turned a bit rubbish. We're on the giant trance with the Syncdrive motor, 85 Newton meters, 625 watt battery. Everything's turned right up. Let's go see. This is the smallest battery on test, but we are rocking automatic suspension, trail geometry, and harder compound tires. So let's go see. 20% done in the giant trance. We have climbed 268 meters, 13 minutes in the saddle, and about 3.5 Ks. So we just hit 40% used on the trance, so 60% to go. We have done 520 meters of vertical climbing, around 40 minutes in the saddle, and just under 10 Ks. And my heart rate's been a little bit lower. I'm gonna say it's around 120, 125. I found it harder to keep it up there because in the top setting, the giant motor doesn't really need much rider input. It kind of almost does it itself. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You can definitely tweak that in the motor. %60 used of the battery on the trance. We have done 775 meters of vertical climbing. We've been in the saddle an hour and 7 minutes. We've done 15.5 Ks. So we just hit 80% usage, so 20% left on the trance. We have done 1 hour and 30 minutes in the saddle, 20 kilometers and 1,030 meters of vertical climbing. Now this is going to be tricky because I can't tell how much left I've got of the 20% because it only tells me in 20%. So 20, 40, 60, 80. But I would imagine we're around 15%, and I've just felt a very small power decrease. There we go, nice little drop here. Oh no! Day 4 of the epic range testing. I'm starting to regret this whole idea of a video. Yesterday did not end that well. We popped the rear tire pretty badly, right on the seam. I managed to patch it with a few bacon bits and I finished the test, but I was a little bit angry. I had to stop, pump the tire up, keep on riding. And what I found out testing the Trance was when you get to about 5%, the last LED turns orange. And if it turns orange, you really should be back at your house because it just dies. It doesn't go down a little bit. Maybe it went down just a little bit of power, but yeah, once it goes orange, you want to be back at your car. And today, the final test, the Commensal SX with the Shimano EP8 630 watt battery. And it hasn't started that well. Look at that rig right there. Duct tape, American tape fixes everything. I actually left the Garmin mount at home. It's about a 20-minute drive, so I've tried to fix it with gaffer tape. Let's see how the EP8 gets on. 20% used on the EP8 with the 630. We got 256 meters of vertical climbing, 12 minutes in the saddle, and around 3.5 Ks. And there we go, 40% gone on the EP8. We did 476 meters of vertical climbing, around 45 minutes in the saddle, just under 10 Ks. Let's go, 60% to go. 60% used on the EP8. We have done 689 meters of vertical climbing, just over an hour in the saddle, just under 14 Ks of riding. So we're somewhere between 40 and 20%. I would say it's around 30%. And I just felt a bit of power decrease. Not a lot. And as I said, riders, this is super subtle. It's just a little bit, maybe like 10, 15% off the top. And there we go, 20% left in the EP8. We did 834 meters of vertical climbing, 1 hour and 20 minutes in the saddle, just over 17 Ks, 20% to go, let's go. And one thing the EP8 does, on the last bar, it goes red. I'd like to see it stay white, and then when it got to 10% or even 5% go red. I don't know, I think those 20% increments, I'd like to see them a little bit more precise. We have an epic fail here. I mean, this is not good. I would say, let's check it now. 882. So we've dropped it down. It won't allow me to go into trail or turbo. We might get 900 meters of vertical climbing, which, whew, not so good. And now the conclusion, and in fourth position is the Shimano EP8 with the 630 watt battery. And for me, riders, this is not a surprise. I wasn't really very happy with the range that I was getting from the Commensal a year ago when I got the bike. So it is the oldest battery, oldest motor in the test. It also has 27 front and back wheels. It also is a super enduro downhill bike. But also I'm putting it out there, more than happy to do this test again on a brand new EP8 with a 630 watt battery. Let's say something like the Yeti 160E, which has 29 wheels, more efficient suspension, and I'd love to see what those results are. But in the Commensal, we got 985 meters of vertical climbing, ride time 88 minutes, my average heart rate was 121, and total distance was 22.66 kilometers. But in Shimano's defense, the EP8 is a fantastic feeling motor, super natural, but the range for me is a little bit disappointing. And in third position, the giant Syncdrive Pro motor, which is based on the Yamaha PW-X3. It had the smallest battery in test of a 625 watt battery. So these numbers were pretty impressive. And also, riders, remember we had automatic suspension in sports mode, so that definitely would have helped. We got 1,213 meters of vertical climbing, 111 minutes in the saddle, and my average heart rate was 121, total distance covered 26.67 kilometers. I was overall really impressed with the Syncdrive motors, my first time doing a range test on this. Obviously it helped with the automatic suspension and the hard compound tires, But yeah, it's a really good system. I found it harder to keep my heart rate higher because the motor seemed to do a lot of the work for me. Clearly that could be tweaked in the application. But yeah, overall, very impressed. And in second position, the Brose Mag S with a 700 watt battery on the Levo with a mullet setup, so 29 at the front, 27 at the back, and a soft compound tire at the front. We did 1,331 meters of vertical climbing, ride time 108 minutes, average heart rate 129, and total distance covered 30.89 kilometers. After over 2,000 kilometers of riding the Levo for the last year, I was not surprised. I knew this would do well in the range test. And yes, my heart rate was a little bit higher on this test, but I'm going to put that down to the downhilling. This is the bike I have the most amount of time on. I'm the most confident on this bike, and I was doing downhills all day long, so I got a bit excited. And also, riders, I am only human, so it is hard to keep your heart rate the same the whole time throughout all the testing. And the winner, the Bosch Gen 4 with a 750 watt battery. I was actually quite surprised with this because I thought that the Bosch might be a little bit more thirsty because the new smart system from my testing seems to have a little bit more punch. But these are the numbers: 1,431 meters of vertical climbing, 114 minutes of ride time, average heart rate 127, and distance ridden 32.69 kilometers. Clearly this is really impressive, seeing how much punch the Bosch Gen 4 gives you, and also in return how much range. Okay riders, you're probably all thinking, which is king of the mountain for range? So let's do a calculation and bring all the bikes up to using a 750 watt battery, which seems to be the standard size battery that most companies are going for in 2022. In fourth position, with the EP8, if we had a 750 watt battery, 1,172 meters. In third position, a Brose Mag S with a 750 watt battery, 1,426 meters. In second position, with the Bosch Gen 4, if we had a 750 watt battery, 1,431 meters. And the winner in my very unscientific test is the giant Syncdrive Pro based on the Yamaha PW-X3. You would have got, with a 750 watt battery, 1,455 meters. And my conclusion from last week's hill climb, this week's epic range test, more or less, the Bosch, the Syncdrive, the Brose are fantastic motors. They're going to give you loads of power, loads of range, and the Shimano EP8, well, it's lacking a little bit. It still is a great motor. You're just not going to get the same range or the same poke when you're going up steep mountains. And now riders, on to the Schwalbe giveaway. And now for the giveaway. Thanks everyone that entered, Schwalbe for giving the tyres, and for a few of the riders that reminded me I forgot to draw it last week, so now we're doing it. These are the entries here. We have 38 that actually tagged 2 people on Instagram, so thank you very much. Absolute legends, everyone. And coming back, and we're going to use the Pretty Random app. So what it does, so we have minimum, we have 38 people, we have 38 people there, and all we do is press random, and here we go, and 25. Ahoo. How do you say that, Bear?
What is it? 25. Ahoo.
Ahoo.
I'm not sure if
we don't know how to say it, but number 25 won. We don't know how to say that, but number 25 won. If you see this, please email samwordley@gmail with your address and what tires you want, what size, and we'll get them shipped out to you. And riders, thanks so much for watching this week. And you know it, stay safe out there, and we're going to see you next time.